1971. Bruce Lee looks into the camera and says, "A true fighter cannot be imprisoned in a single style. If you're only a karate man and someone takes you to the ground, what will you do there? If you only know judo and your opponent keeps distance, how will you reach them? The champion of the future will be someone who knows something from every style." 1993. UFC 1. Royce Gracie defeats 8 fighters from different styles, all single-style specialists. Royce knows multiple styles. He wins. 1971. Bruce. You must be as good as a boxer standing up, as good as a wrestler on the ground, as good as a judoka in the clinch. You must combine everything. 2024. Every MMA training session includes striking like boxing and kickboxing, grappling like wrestling, and submissions like jiu-jitsu. Exactly what Bruce described. 22 years apart, word for word, identical. Bruce Lee created MMA without ever seeing MMA. How did he know? Simple. He saw the truth when everyone else was blind. Let's go back to where it started. 1964. Bruce Lee is teaching martial arts in Oakland, California. His students come from different backgrounds. Some practiced karate, some judo, some boxing. Bruce watches them and notices something. Each style has strengths. Each style has weaknesses. A karate expert has powerful kicks, but struggles in close range. A judo player dominates in throws, but has no striking defense. A boxer owns the stand-up game but is helpless on the ground. Bruce asks himself, why choose? Why limit yourself to one style's strengths and accept its weaknesses? What if you took the best from each and discarded what doesn't work? This question was revolutionary in 1964. The martial arts world operated on tradition. You picked a style. You stayed in that style. You became a master of that style. Mixing styles was considered disrespectful, even sacrilegious. Each style claimed to be complete. Wing Chun has everything you need. Karate is the ultimate martial art. Judo is unbeatable. Every style made the same claim. Bruce disagreed. No style is complete, he said, because real fighting has no rules. In a street fight, there's no referee saying no kicks or no ground fighting. You need to be ready for everything. So why train for only one scenario? His instructors were angry. Traditional Wing Chun masters called him a traitor. Bruce is abandoning his roots, they said. He's disrespecting the lineage. But Bruce didn't care about lineage. He cared about effectiveness. He began studying every martial art he could find. Boxing for hand speed and footwork, wrestling for takedowns and control, fencing for distance and timing, judo for throws, karate for kicks, Wing Chun for trapping. He watched, he learned, he tested. If a technique worked in real sparring, he kept it. If it only looked good in forms but failed under pressure, he discarded it. Function over tradition, reality over ritual. By 1967, Bruce had developed his own approach. He called it Jeet Kune Do, which means the way of the intercepting fist. But he explained, it's not really a way, because ways lead somewhere. I am already here. You are already here. We don't need a path. We need awareness, adaptation, freedom. His students were confused. Sifu, if it's not a style, what is it? Bruce explained, it's a philosophy. Be like water. Water has no shape. You pour it into a cup, it becomes the cup. You pour it into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. A fighter must be the same. Against a kicker, close the distance. Against a grappler, maintain space. Against a boxer, change levels. Always adapt, never be fixed in one form. This was radical thinking. The martial arts world was built on forms, patterns, rigid techniques practiced thousands of times until perfect. Bruce said, forms are useful for beginners. They teach basic movement, but eventually you must break free from forms. In a real fight, you don't think, now I'll do technique number 7 from form 3. You react. You flow. You become formless. People thought he was crazy. Some respected instructors said Bruce was diluting martial arts, destroying centuries of tradition. Others said his approach would never work because no one could master multiple styles. Bruce proved them wrong. In private matches, he defeated specialists from every discipline: karate black belts, judo champions, kung fu masters. Not because he was naturally stronger or faster, because his approach was more complete. When a karate expert tried to keep distance with kicks, Bruce closed in with boxing combinations. When a judo player attempted throws, Bruce sprawled like a wrestler. When a Wing Chun practitioner tried to trap, Bruce shifted to fencing footwork and created space. He wasn't better at any single technique than the specialists, but he had answers they didn't have. That was the advantage. In 1971, Bruce appeared on the Pierre Berton Show. The host asked about martial arts' future. Bruce's answer became prophetic. Different styles will combine: boxing's striking, judo's grappling, all together, because real fights have no style restrictions. Pierre Berton looked skeptical. But each art has different rules. How can you mix them? Bruce smiled. That's the problem. Rules limit effectiveness. Real combat has one rule: survive. If you're attached to a style, you're vulnerable. The audience didn't understand. In 1971, martial arts were exotic to Westerners. Mixed martial arts seemed impossible. Bruce continued, "A boxer's great with hands, but what if you kick his legs? A karate man has powerful kicks, but what if you clinch him? A judo player can throw anyone, but what if you punch before he grabs? Every specialist has blind spots." This interview was recorded, then forgotten. Bruce died in 1973. His philosophy was overlooked. Hollywood remembered the action star. The martial arts world remembered the controversial figure. Few understood his message. 20 years passed. 1993, Denver, Colorado. The Ultimate Fighting Championship launched. The concept: fighters from different styles compete with minimal rules. The goal: answer which martial art is best. UFC 1 featured different disciplines: sumo wrestler, karate champion, kickboxer, boxer, and Royce Gracie, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Royce wasn't the biggest at 170 pounds. Some opponents weighed 250. But Royce knew what to do everywhere: standing, clinch, ground, complete skill set. The specialists followed the same pattern. They excelled in their domain but were lost outside it. The sumo wrestler was powerful standing but helpless on ground. The boxer landed punches but couldn't defend takedowns. The kickboxer had devastating kicks but no submission defense. Royce won by submitting everyone, not with strength but complete skills. UFC founder Art Davie later said, "We tested Bruce's theory. Bruce said future fighters would combine styles. Royce proved it. After UFC 1, everything changed. Single-style dominance ended. Champions trained multiple disciplines. Wrestlers learned submissions. Strikers learned takedown defense. The sport evolved as Bruce predicted. By the 2000s, mixed martial arts became official. Gyms stopped teaching one art. They offered MMA programs combining everything. Training included boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, judo. Students trained all ranges: striking, clinching, ground fighting. UFC President Dana White said in 2015, "Bruce Lee is the father of modern MMA. He talked about mixing styles in the 1960s. We made it a sport in the 1990s. Every technique you see today," Bruce predicted. Joe Rogan has spoken about this many times. Watch Bruce's 1971 interview. He describes MMA perfectly: range, timing, adaptation. In 1971, he wasn't stuck in tradition. He looked at fighting scientifically. The parallels are striking. In 1967, Bruce wrote, "A martial artist must train 3 ranges: kicking, punching, grappling." In 2024, every MMA gym teaches exactly this: 3 ranges, same concept. Bruce emphasized aliveness in training. He said, "Forms are dead patterns. Real fighting is alive, chaotic. You must spar against resisting opponents." Modern MMA coaching says the same. Drilling matters, but sparring is essential. You can practice perfect techniques on cooperative partners, but until you try against someone fighting back, you don't really know them. Even Bruce's be like water philosophy applies to MMA. Water doesn't fight obstacles, it flows around them. An MMA fighter who only strikes struggles against wrestlers because he forces his game instead of adapting. Smart fighters flow. Wrestler taking you down, sprawl and create space, striker staying outside, close distance, always adapt. Bruce demonstrated this in training. Dan Inosanto, Bruce's student, later became an MMA coach. He said, "Everything I teach MMA fighters today, I learned from Bruce 50 years ago. Range awareness, transitions, adaptability." Bruce also predicted grappler limitations. He wrote, "A grappler who can't strike is vulnerable to knockout. A striker who can't grapple is vulnerable to submissions. You need both." Early UFC saw pure jiu-jitsu dominate, but by UFC 50, fighters needed high-level skills everywhere. Now, in 2024, every champion is elite in all areas, exactly what Bruce described. The philosophy extends to training methods. Bruce was obsessed with functional fitness. He lifted weights, unusual for 1960s martial artists. Traditional masters said weights make you slow. Bruce proved them wrong with incredible speed and power. He also did cardio and flexibility work. Balanced development. Modern MMA fighters follow the same program. Bruce's 1960s routine looks like a 2024 training plan. Perhaps the most striking example is Bruce's critique of kata. He said, "You don't learn to swim on dry land. Similarly, you don't learn to fight practicing alone. You need an opponent, resistance." This was heresy when kata was considered essential. But modern research agrees. Live sparring creates better fighters than solo drilling. MMA gyms spend more time on partner drills and sparring. Science validated what Bruce knew. There's also mental approach. Bruce emphasized being present, reactive, not pre-planned. "Don't think, feel," he said. Modern sports psychology calls this flow state. MMA coaches now teach mindfulness to help fighters access this state. Bruce taught it in the 1960s without scientific terminology. So how did Bruce know all this decades early? First, he was a truth seeker, not tradition keeper. He questioned everything. Second, he tested constantly. Bruce sparred with every style and experienced their strengths and weaknesses. Third, he studied broadly. Philosophy, boxing, fencing, biomechanics. Most importantly, Bruce understood principles over techniques. Most martial artists focused on specific moves. Bruce focused on universal concepts, distance control, timing, adaptability, efficiency. These principles transcend styles. Whether boxing or wrestling, distance and timing matter. By understanding principles, Bruce predicted how fighting would evolve. In his final interview, Bruce said, "I'm not teaching techniques, I'm teaching you to think. Techniques come and go, but thinking lasts. If you can analyze and adapt, you'll find the right technique." Today, MMA embodies this philosophy. There's no official MMA style. Every fighter has unique blends based on background and opponents. Some are wrestler-heavy with decent striking. Some are striker-heavy with takedown defense. Some are balanced. The sport rewards adaptability and punishes rigidity. Just as Bruce said, UFC champions in 2024 train exactly what Bruce described in 1967: multiple ranges, multiple styles, constant adaptation. They spar frequently to pressure test skills. They focus on functional strength. They study opponents, but remain ready to improvise. They embody be like water. Bruce never saw UFC. He never trained for MMA. He died 20 years before the sport existed. Yet, he's called the father of mixed martial arts by UFC leadership and fighters. Why? He didn't create techniques. He created a mindset, a philosophy, a way of thinking about combat decades ahead of its time. The lesson isn't just about fighting. It's about seeing truth beyond tradition, effectiveness beyond ritual, principles beyond techniques. Bruce looked at martial arts and asked, what actually works? Not what looks impressive or what honors tradition, simply what works. That question led him to conclusions that seemed crazy in the 1960s but are obvious today. Mixed training beats single-style training, adaptability beats rigidity. Principles matter more than forms. Live practice beats dead patterns, function over fashion. 50 years ago, Bruce Lee saw the future of fighting. He described it in detail. Then, the world caught up. Now, every time an MMA fighter steps into the octagon combining multiple styles, adapting to opponents, flowing between ranges, they prove Bruce right. The teacher died in 1973, but his vision lives every day in gyms worldwide. That's legacy, that's foresight, that's Bruce Lee.